Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a seriously mind-bending journey. We're going to explore one of the most profound philosophical questions ever asked. And we're actually doing it by traveling from the depths of ancient Greek philosophy all the way to, well, a kitchen potato. Yep, you heard that right, a potato. By the end of our time together, you're going to see exactly how a humble boiled potato holds the literal key to understanding the very fabric of your existence. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. How do you know what is real? Seriously, think about it for a second. You trust your eyes, your ears, the ground beneath your feet, right? But what if the reality you experience every single day is just a tiny fraction of the whole truth? What if it's kind of just a reflection or a shadow of something way more profound? This isn't just some fun late-night thought experiment, you guys. It's a question that has absolutely haunted humanity for thousands of years. Section 1. Shadows on the Wall. To really start unpacking this, we need a cinematic starting point. Imagine the scene Plato paints in his masterpiece, The Republic. It's a conversation between his mentor, Socrates, and his brother, Glaucon. They describe a group of people who've been imprisoned in a dark cave since childhood. But it's way worse than just being stuck in a cave. They're literally chained by their necks and ankles. They can't look around, they can't see each other, they can't even see themselves. All they can do is stare straight ahead at this blank, empty cave wall. Now, behind them is a roaring fire. And between that fire and the prisoners, these unseen puppet masters are parading objects around. So the prisoners, they only see the shadows cast on the wall, and they hear echoing voices. To them, these blurry, distorted shadows are the absolute unquestionable reality. They have absolutely no idea it's all just an illusion. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Plato structures this intellectual awakening. He breaks the allegory down into three very distinct stages. First up, the imprisonment. That's our default state of ignorance, where we're basically just trusting what our senses tell us. Second is the departure. That is the really painful process of breaking free and actually discovering the truth. And finally, the return. This is the super complex and often dangerous act of trying to bring that truth back to everyone else. Section 2. Stepping into the light. So what actually happens when a prisoner is finally freed from those chains? Well, it is definitely not some magical, happy moment. Socrates explains that the steep, rough ascent out of the cave is agonizing. I mean, they step into blinding sunlight that physically hurts their eyes. This perfectly aligns with Plato's analogy of the divided line. The prisoner is moving from the visible world, the shadows and physical stuff, into the intelligible world of pure reasoning and true forms. Slowly, very slowly, their eyes adjust until they finally achieve true understanding, which Plato represents as the sun. But here is the grand tragedy of the whole allegory. The enlightened prisoner, who now possesses the ultimate truth, naturally feels a duty to return to the cave to free their peers. But when they go back down into that pitch-black darkness, their eyes aren't adjusted to the gloom anymore. They stumble around, they literally can't see the shadows clearly. So to the chained prisoners, their returning friend just looks ridiculous, ruined even. They immediately conclude that the journey upward destroys you. In fact, Socrates notes that if the prisoners could somehow reach out and grab the enlightened person, trying to drag them up into the light, they would kill him. Section 3. Pop culture Steve. Now, this concept is incredibly powerful, and it definitely didn't just stay trapped in ancient Greece. It fundamentally dominates the stories we still tell today. Just look at the massive influence here. Think of the Matrix, right? Neo literally wakes up from a simulated shadow world into the harsh, painful truth of reality. Or The Truman Show, where a guy realizes his entire life is just a manufactured television set. We see it everywhere, from movies like Us and City of Ember to classic novels like Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. Even TV shows like Legion use the exact same allegory to explore modern social media narcissism. We are absolutely obsessed with the idea that our reality is just a projection, and that waking up from it is this painful, heroic journey. Section 4. The Boiled Potato Experiment. All right, we've explored the grand cosmic philosophy of Plato's cave. Now, I promised you a potato, and it is time to deliver. We're going to do a little Socratic dialogue of our own here. So imagine you have a potato that has just been freshly boiled. If I asked you right now, is the boiled potato hot? The incredibly obvious answer is, yes, of course, the potato is hot. But if we dig just a little bit deeper, we have to ask, is the potato's heat intrinsic to its nature, or is it borrowed? Does that heat come and go? Well, a raw potato just sitting in the ground isn't boiling hot. So it's pretty obvious that the potato's heat is borrowed. It temporarily took that heat from the boiling water it was cooked in. Makes sense, right?
So we push the philosophical question further up the chain. We turn to the water. Is the water intrinsically hot? Does water's heat naturally just come and go?
Clearly, water isn't naturally hot either. It can be freezing cold or scalding hot, entirely depending on the circumstances. In the case of our boiled potato, the water's heat is entirely borrowed from whatever container happens to be holding it, in this case, our metal pot.
Let's move to the pot and see how this builds. We follow the heat again. Is heat intrinsic to the pot itself? Does the pot's heat come and go?
No way. Exactly like the water and the potato, a metal pot just sitting in your cupboard isn't naturally hot. It's just another borrower in this chain of reality. The pot is getting its heat from whatever heated it in the first place, which is the stove or the fire below it.
Section 5. Borrowed versus intrinsic reality.
Now we're getting to the absolute core of the matter, moving right from the kitchen counter back into the deepest realms of philosophical truth. Let's clearly define what makes something truly real. By definition, something with intrinsic existence is that which does not change. It does not come and go. It is real in and of itself. So the crucial point is, if a thing comes and goes, it's just borrowing its existence from something else. It is basically a shadow on the cave wall. So let's jump back to our chain for a second. We asked if fire's heat is intrinsic. And yes, for sure, it is the very nature of fire to be hot. Fire doesn't borrow its heat from anything else. But wait. Ask yourself this. Does fire itself come and go? Yes, it absolutely does. A fire burns out. Even stars, like our sun, the very symbol of truth in Plato's Allegory, will eventually burn out and cease to exist. Because fire comes and goes, because it changes, it means that ultimately, in the grandest philosophical sense, fire is not truly real either. Mind-blowing, right? Section 6. Are you actually real? And now, we turn the lens directly onto you. We've talked about shadows, potatoes, and stars. Now it's time to apply this exact same Socratic logic to human existence. Are you actually real? When you explore your own life the same way we just explored that potato, you hit a pretty stark realization. Your human form, your body mind, is completely temporary. There was a time before you were born when it didn't exist. It exists right now, and there will be a time in the future when it ceases to exist. Ultimately, your physical form is not intrinsically real because it comes and goes. It is a shadow. It borrows its existence from its source, which is existence itself, whatever name you wish to call it. But please, do not let this plunge you into a full-blown existential crisis, because here is the beautiful reassurance. Remember our hot potato? Yes, its heat is totally borrowed, but while it is hot, that heat is a completely real experience. In the exact same way, the fact that your body-mind's existence is temporary and borrowed doesn't mean you're fake. You do exist right now, and while you exist, you are real. You are source, appearing right now in a physical human form. And the undeniable evidence of this, the simple, profound fact that you are aware that you exist. And this brilliantly illustrates a beautiful ultimate takeaway. I really want you to let this quote sink in. You are timeless being temporarily appearing in human. Your physical form is temporary, bound by time and bound by change. But the source you are borrowing your existence from, that is not physical, and it is definitely not bound by time. That underlying existence is what you truly are. We have broken our chains, we've walked out of the cave, and we've followed the heat all the way back to the source. But this journey of understanding doesn't end here. It's really just beginning for you. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder as you go about the rest of your day. If your physical body, your thoughts, and your current identity are just the temporary shadows on the wall, what is your sun? Keep questioning, keep looking past the shadows, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.